Ever.
Hmm. Well, hello, hello,
Hello out there.
hello. Have you ever heard the saying, when it rains, it pours? Well, it's been pouring over here. I don't know about where you are. Hello, Vincent Kelly
How you doing out there?
and Diana. Good to see you guys are with us today. And Connie, it's good to have you here. Hey, Dee Dee. Yes, if you've ever heard, when it rains, it pours. It's pouring over here, and I don't mean rain outside.
Yeah.
And you ever heard of Murphy's Law? Well, if it can't happen, it will happen. So it's happening over here today. I started to cancel. So this maybe we're gonna have a really, really good session today. Good afternoon, Sandra. Good afternoon, darling. We were up all night with baby girl who still has diarrhea, and she had to go out and she had to come in and she had to go out and she had to come in. And then first thing this morning, we had to put our clothes on and take her to the vet. Oh, we just got back about 30 minutes ago. Yep. She's right here beside me. I had to, well, I won't even say how much money we spent. Well, she's all of her stuff, none of the other stuff they did was working. Now she's on something totally different regimen. So here we go. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. And then Pastor Norman couldn't get his links. So it's been happening all day. It's one of those Twilight Zone days. And I know you can relate. But
It's okay.
we are still here. We are still who we are. Thank God we know that.
Okay. All
And
right.
Pastor Norman's still trying to get on. So hopefully he'll make it. I'm not sure. Something started happening to his electronics, and he couldn't get any of his links to get on with us today. But hey,
Okay.
yeah. So anyhow,
Knowing
welcome.
without a mind, hearing without ears, seeing without eyes, walking without legs, picking up things without arms. Traveling long distances and never leave the position you're in.
Mhm.
When you begin to investigate, I would advise you to investigate in any information you can find about the mystical side of what do you call it? The mystic.
The mystical side of the mystic.
Yeah.
Well, a mystic is always a mystical side.
Yeah, but I'm saying investigate into what kind of temperament that was there and work through a mystic.
And there are different kinds of mystics, right? Because there are Christian mystics, and then there are mystics of other religions, and there's mystics that are of no religion at all.
Well, let's go for the religion.
But I remember Carlton Pearson said that a mystic is one who knows the mist story.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, we talk this stuff because somewhere in this evolution right now is a process.
Yes.
We are the process, and we are the one in it, and the inness of it is God. I would advise you to do a research on the heart of Jesus. Investigate the heart of God.
Yeah.
I would also invite you to investigate into the full impact of the word eternal, eternal life, the definition of it from every angle that can be presented to you. Investigate into infinity again. If you're going to walk this, you are going to have to know some things about these entities that we're speaking of, simply because when you find this place in you to speak of it, there's a conversation that will be brought up in you because this is what you were supposed to know and hear from if there was a day one. Now, most of us will say, I don't need all that. All I need is to know that Jesus is my true identity.
Well, when you think of the mystics, I always think of that because there are a lot of monks who were mystics, especially in Catholicism. A lot of them were mystics. You had all kinds of what they called them saints, of course, and they iconized them.
Very good. I like that.
Yeah, to the point where it was, to the point where even some of them still have the blood of that hasn't coagulated and all kinds of things. Some of them never deteriorated; their bodies never deteriorated. All of those kinds of things in the in the Catholic religion, and that's where I first learned of mysticism, because they actually. That's where you were talking about the Sacred Heart, and you were looking into the Sacred Heart, and they were the religion that talked about the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And so that was where my first understanding of what a mystic truly is came from, and then living with you, who I know is a mystic. But mystics start in the Christian religion. Mystics have their beginning and their focus and their theme, their life theme, in union with God. That's where it starts, and the stages of union. And then I often say this: to me, they're the two that I am familiar with is the existential union, which we know every person that's born into the earth is already connected to God, already joined to God, whether they know it or not. They are already, because of their existence, that their essence is that of God, even if they're asleep to it. But then there is, and I think Vincent, you said this, there is transformational union, where that union begins to consummate, and you are actually being consumed by that, by God, and in the sense that you as a personality are becoming less and less, and that is the essence is becoming stronger and stronger. And so in the Bible it calls it, I think it was John that said, I must decrease that he might increase. And so that to me is what union, and you're hearing my stomach because I haven't eaten anything.
I thought that the hearing of God was hearing somebody preaching.
Yes.
Or hearing somebody say things.
Yes.
But you will come in line. See, a lot of the mystics that I have studied into, they would find the weirdest places to go into silence and stillness in.
Yes.
Some of them would go inside
they
trees.
They enjoyed, or they gravitated towards solitude. And for long hours and days even. Yes. In fact, there was one, I can't remember, I think it's Sadhu Sundar Singh.
Yeah, heard that.
And Norma just came in. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Norma. I'm glad you're here.
So glad to be here.
Sundar Singh, I think he was Indian, right? He was from India. He actually lived or as a sage in a cave.
Listen to this.
And
because you are is an indication that you are not.
Okay. He lived in a cave for years. Let me fix this so it don't look funny. And he when he passed, they went into the cave where he had been all those years, and they saw where he had put his handprint on the wall of the cave, and it actually was an indention there. His whatever spiritual power that was coming through him, it was enough to imprint his hand in that cave wall. Isn't that amazing?
It is. It really is.
And that was just from him removing himself from the five senses, the world, and closing himself in. But now I'm not recommending that, because some of us would do that and come out Looney Tunes. So let's not do that. But that's what happened with him. And he was a mystic. He was a mystic.
I looked up a lady that has a book out on understanding her true identity, her infinite self.
Yes. Norma, we're talking about the mystic. And I know you're just tuning in. And for those who came in a little late, you didn't know that Pastor Norma was having some problems coming in, getting the link. And we have just rushed in here from the vet about 30 minutes before going live, and it's been a twilight day for us, a crazy day, but we're here, and that's so we're talking about the mystic, Pastor Norman, to catch you up, get you up to speed, and what the mystic is. So Pastor Dad was talking about that when you came in.
It says you are not, God is.
Yes.
God is, you are not.
Yes.
You don't, but he does. And he does while you don't. You ride without walking, and you walk without riding.
You said it the other day when we had our talk with Vincent. You arrive, you walk without arriving.
Yeah, that's right.
You said that.
Yeah,
yes,
the place that we are, and the what we are, is and always have been, and it does not come. That you are did not come. You have always been that.
Yes.
And you rose up in the resurrection of Christ, and you are the same thing that God is. You are the place. Listen to this. You are the place you never left from.
Yes.
You are the place that you never left from. And what you are is the place where God is. Yes. Now we can say these things all day, all night. what I'm looking for.
And about an hour ago, I didn't feel like that was what I am, but I am that still.
One thing I have learned about this path is do not allow anything. There's three things I go at. I'm going to tell you like this. I don't stop my praying because I don't feel good.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go about seeking God anymore because I found him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go about, and I don't go about telling people who I am because I know it.
This is one thing. I don't, when I do pray, if there is something, some drama going on, I deliberately do not pray about that drama.
Mhm.
Because I know my mind and my emotions are obsessed with that. And that is not what I want to communicate or have God communicate to me regarding. So I refuse to take my drama into that time.
You cannot come to God's self.
Mm-hmm.
You are the cannot that came from God because you are.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
See that you got to go into them words like that and work on it. Pastor Norman, I'm gonna ask you something.
Yes,
Before
sir.
you do that,
This is
I wanted to let everyone know, if you see me skip out, it's because I have to take baby girl out. She's still dealing with the diarrhea. So if I have to jump up, that'll be why. So now you go right ahead.
you don't get rid of something that you've always been. I don't care how hard you work at it. You can scrub it, scrape it, wire brush it, paint it, sit on it, walk on it, cut it up. It still exists in its bodily substance. Now, because you are with God, because you are with God, God does not have to come to you.
Exactly.
Oh, knock my britches off. Somebody at Square Ball Corners. You do not get rid of yourself, because if something tried, you're so meticulously woven into the fabric of the essence of I amness that to try to get rid of anything. And watch this. Now, here's it. We have those people that want to get in this thing and find more of God than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Forget that. I'm going to tell you from the beginning. Put your shoes on or take them off and walk outdoors. You do not and cannot do this. I got a hold of God. You cannot have a hold of God.
You can't possess it.
You
Can't
cannot
possess
hold
God.
this.
Mm-mm.
Now we get ready to see the surgery of God with a fine tooth comb,
Yeah.
or laser skepticism, or laser invention that can cut through the middle of hair and measure it, and both at the end will be the same length. The fine point of your inside is the vision of God, like a polar bear can smell meat for miles. I'm telling you, listen, find anything in the earth that seems to be extraordinary or miraculously different, even as an ant, even as a dog or any animal. You listen to this. All of that potential and inability comes from you.
Yes. I want to read a scripture. May I?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are familiar with it, I'm pretty sure, but it's in, I take my glasses off so I can see. It's in Hebrews 4 and verses 9. No, I'm going to start at verse 8. It says, for if Jesus had given them rest, and I want to make sure that I say this. It says Jesus had given them rest. He said, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Jesus didn't promise to give you anything else but rest.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And listen to this. He said, if Jesus had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day? There remains therefore a rest to the people of God. And all of us are people of God, not just those of us who accepted Jesus Christ. All of us are people of God. And then he said in the 10th verse, for he that is entered into his rest also has ceased from his own works as God did from his. The only work we have is in this next verse, in the 11th verse. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest. That is the only work we have that God considers true work.
Watch this.
To enter into rest.
Hey, watch this. It's gonna knock your socks off.
Yes, sir.
You are the place. Oh, here it comes now. Hold your bloomers. You are the place. You are the place. You are the place. The place you are the place. Ready? Here it comes. You are the place where God was born from and came from. Now we always said we come from God, and God and we are and God is in us. But now it's reversed.
Yes.
You are the actual place where God was born from.
And where God dwells, and where
Now,
God resides, and where God manifests, and where God expresses.
I'm going to say the most radical thing I can say about you, that God is. And I can promise you, if you take the phrase or the word eternal life, you cannot kick it out the house. You'll have to take your shoes off and walk in, because the place you're walking is the place where God has sanctified and found as himself being holy.
Yes.
You are holy not because of tradition, rituals, or sayings, or clothes. You can sit here and pass gas if you want to and be perfect.
unless you pass gas like baby girl did yesterday. Oh my!
You become
God.
a perfect fart. That's what you.
Woo, woo. So now this, I wanted to say this: when we have a problem or something comes up that we consider emergency or catastrophe or hardship, whatever, how we want to label it, our goal is not to fix the problem. Our goal is to find a place of rest on the inside. That's what we should be doing. If we're going to go pray when there's a problem, that's the prayer, is to come into rest, to find that inner rest in the midst of where the problem is. It's not first to fix the problem, because when you come into that inner rest, that problem, usually you'll either see a solution, or it will dissipate, or you'll have the grace to go through it without it being disturbance.
That's good, Mom. Because the second part of verse 11, and that is a struggle for so many people. It said, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. And so the struggle has been, once again, believing the truth of who we really are.
Exactly.
So we have been conditioned by the world that in order to discover or arrive to a place of achievement, we got to work for this. We always got to do, and we must understand, even when it
don't say do. That's all we've been dealing with. Do.
That's funny, bro. I walk right into that one. But we think by much labor and much work that we are approved, and that's not what the writer here in the book of Hebrew especially is ascribed to Paul.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to just get into that state, that mindset of rest, that I don't have to try to discover or to search or to work. I just have to be. And that's all it's telling us. Just be in that place of who you really are. And when you discover and realize and awaken to the point of who you really are, then you enter into a place of rest, which means you have no more emotional or mental struggle that you're trying to achieve or arrive.
Exactly, because trying to come into rest can become a burden.
When I started studying the energy and the Kundalini, I realized that every one of us is the energy, or the electrical energy, the charges of God. The reason why you lay hands on somebody and touch them is because there's a touch and create. There's a touch and move.
Yeah, and years ago, we discovered together when my mom was alive. We were in church one evening in a guest church, and my mom was with us. And mom had just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, maybe a month or so, and she was still functional. So she was there in church with us. And I remember you called her up, or she was in a prayer line or whatever, and you laid hands on her and charged her. And when you did, she immediately had a seizure because the problem she was having was her brain was already overcharged.
It was.
And it was then that we realized that we charged her even more. So when you lay hands on a person, it isn't always giving something. It isn't always giving them something.
So that means steadying into the full electrical energy. Say if I wanted to touch somebody, I need to know how much charge do they have already,
or
so that I won't overcharge their battery.
Exactly. And when to charge and when to just align every system in the body by touching them.
Now, sin would be the acid. It would be the acid around the what you call cable post. The cable post.
So that causes a disconnect or a misconnect.
Out of the top of our head is a portal that connects us eternally. It's called the soft spot in a baby's head.
That's the example.
That's the example of it. But it's a portal that hooks up. Now, get into this stuff because you're going to experience a lot of times in your sleep at night, out of body travel. We call it astral projection in the world. But it's out of body travel, and it's all through the Bible with Jesus. Because actually, before Jesus could come inside of Mary's womb to be born of her, he had to be downsized and decreased in energy in order to get in her. But he used her energy to form his body, and he was Mary energy inside of herself, inside of him, creating himself to come forth.
You just something triggered in something. I think I just had an aha moment. I remember we had a dog, not baby girl, but one we had prior, one of our first dogs we had, Bernie, who had epilepsy. And I remember Bernie would, before he had a seizure, he would jump up and run, as if to run away from what was about to happen to him. And he knew that was coming. And I thought about what you said. Epilepsy is a firing of the brain.
Electrical charges.
Or a misfire.
Neuron electrons.
Or a misfire. And so I thought about, I related that to, while you were talking, my mind went back to how people with bipolar and all of these other mental disturbances, actually the reason they have the problem they have is because they have too much of a charge in their mental anatomy. And so it throws them out of balance. And I thought about when Bernie would run, it made him act differently. That extra charge made him act differently. And so, and he could see it coming. And I think that when you lay hands on a person, sometimes you're charging them. Sometimes you are bringing their systems of their body into an alignment so that it can heal itself. And then sometimes you are actually removing negative charges. And then sometimes you're actually breaking down a construct that holds thoughts and feelings that causes that person to go back into those trigger responses. I hope that makes sense, because that's exactly how it's working. I wanted to just acknowledge what Vincent said. I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead, brother, Pastor Norman.
One of the perfect examples of what you just shared, because I wanted to share concerning what you said about, because everything is energy. That's one of the things that we need to understand. Everything is energy. Energy is never lost. It's not going nowhere.
No.
It can reshape. It can, like Dad said, downsize or whatever. But energy is never lost. It just transforms. All right. And so when you said what you said concerning people being brought back into alignment, dealing with certain situations, being bipolar, not even just mental things, but physical things as well. The
Yes.
example that came to mind for me was the woman that had the issue of blood.
Yes.
All right. Because when, notice again, and it's been taught wrong so many years, because one of the things I realized, again, we already discussed how she had to end the conversation with herself. She said to herself, she didn't need no one, not even Jesus, to call her out of the crowd and to give her a prophetic word. Jesus didn't even lay his hands on her or nothing. She said, if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. And notice when she touched him, the Bible declares that virtue left his body, his being, that energy. And so when I look up the word virtue, it means effective force or power. So the effective force and power that reside in Jesus, the divine energy, now what? It was released into her or transmitted into her and caused everything to come in alignment with her body. And
Exactly.
he said, I didn't do anything. He said, your faith, what you believed in, what you was aware of, made you whole. Brought everything back into the alignment.
So while you're talking, Linda's got to go to Portland because she has to have eye surgery for a hole in her eye. I want you to speak to it right now. I want you to just speak to it. You guys speak to it.
Linda.
Go ahead, Dad.
I speak to you. I speak to your body. I speak to the eyes of Christ that is in your sight. The seeing of God in your eye. I command that hole to close up, and I command the hands of the doctors that are working on it to enter into the perfections of pure sight. I call forth the divine order in that body, in your head, down to your tiptoes. I want you to know that God is the one that they're working on, and he's the one that will be using the eye to see. I command the miracle healing presence of the person, office of Jesus Christ, to reveal his face in your face and not lose or miss a place.
Go ahead, Pastor Norman.
I speak the life essence in the way of words unto you in the same manner in which the centurion came to Jesus on behalf of his servant. We send that word that is filled with effective power. Right now, we declare, we decree as God's in the earth for your eye to come to the place of alignment according to the perfect design and function of our Father. Thou art whole, not shall be, but thou art whole in the name of our Father and his Son Jesus. Amen.
And you're in good hands. You're in
Yes.
good hands. We go with you, sweetheart. We go with you. Thank you for letting us know, Linda. Thank you for letting us know. Now, Vincent says this. Okay. Vincent says this, therefore you can exert energy there at home, and through the air, the energy vibrations in my body would respond. Yeah. In fact, there is no distance. There is no distance in spirit. There's no distance. Miles don't mean anything. Or time. None of that means anything.
And Vincent should know this, especially for what he did when we discover what he actually does with lighting and so forth. If we ever get to the point, because we have our moments of seeing through our third eye, which is the eye of the spirit, we have our moments. But if we can consistently see through our third eye with no impediment, no distractions whatsoever, we will always see that there is with our being is always vibrating. Always. Always, like right now,
we're vibratory beings,
but we are always emitting energy. So there's always a vibration, there's always movement. And so with the spiritual eye, the third eye, it would look like static. That's what
Mhm.
it looks like. And we can
Mhm.
actually visualize it. And so he knows that there's energy is always vibrate, is always in motion.
Always, always. Vincent also says the legion of demons knew and recognized this energy when they said to Jesus, "Why have you come to torment us before our time?" I also noticed they knew they had a time that they were to be tormented. Yes, yes. And those energies, demons are just energies, dark energies that are left as residue and thoughts that live autonomously. No thought dies.
Mhm.
Every thought lives autonomously.
What is so great about this?
Linda says she says thank you. She has tears in her holy eye.
Bless
Yeah.
God. I
There's
like
a holy eye.
holy eye.
What,
Oh,
what is so unique about this that
Hey,
we speak
Sinette.
of? We are so imperfect,
We're perfectly imperfect.
perfectly imperfect, but we are so imperfect
Mm.
that the presence of God is perfect, our perfection.
Yes.
If you stood before the high terrain council,
The
they
what kind of council?
there's some kind of word I'm trying to use. It's
Triune.
triune, yeah, triune
Mhm.
council. They would see perfection,
Yes.
but they would give you a chance to turn your back on it and experience what it's like to not be perfect. So that when you turn back around again, see, let me
Isn't that what's happening though?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, we're before the Holy Triune right now and standing and being and seeing ourselves as they see us as perfect, and then we turn around and we see ourselves as imperfect. That's what we see when we're in a human form. We often see more of the imperfections than we do the perfection.
You guys are going to have the experience of turning around inside your body and looking out the back of it.
mhm.
You're going to have the experience of looking at the front, the right side, and the left side, and down through your feet.
Mhm.
This is the cherub. This is the cherub function. A cherub can look in 4 different directions at one time.
And that's what that cherub in the
Ezek-
book of Daniel and
Mhm.
Ezekiel. That's what it meant.
Yeah.
You could see in
Four-faced creatures.
all 4 directions.
Or direct at one time.
Without
At one
turning,
time.
without
At
turning.
one time. That's
Oh
And
my
we are
God.
multidimensional. We as consciousness, we can see in we can see all directions at one time.
Somebody want to talk about the blessings of God. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's all over the
Yes.
screen. It's all everywhere. Oh, yes, it's out there. The
Yes.
blessings of the Lord is on everybody that hears our voice. I got a piece of ice in my mouth. The blessing of the Lord is moving all through you from the rooter to the tutor, from the top to the end, from one top pantyhose to the feet pantyhose. You are in the place right now for a supernatural event to take place with them old raggedy pantyhose. God getting ready to show you some new clothes, the new outfit where you can wear and won't have to wear them old ugly, raggedy, holy things.
Sinette said, Sinette, that's funny. Sinette says, I often do remote healings. The trick is to see the wholeness and let our divinity flow through. Open our heart. The more I go away and let the light energy align itself. Yes, ma'am.
I love that.
Yes, there's no way Antoinette could heal a fly with a headache. And I don't mean that God is doing a separate and apart from Antoinette. I'm just saying Antoinette has to enter into the consciousness of Jesus in order to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when the eye disappears. Now remember, Muji said this. Muji was a sage, in case you haven't heard of him. He said, in order for God to appear, you must disappear.
Yes, 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 yes.
Now you can cook that.
Yes. So
that'll make a good sandwich.
when you feel empty, like you have nothing to give, that's the best time that God can completely express itself through you.
You know, one day
He got something.
go ahead.
When I was reading what Sinette wrote
Put it back.
a minute, put it back up. As I was reading it, and I don't know if y'all familiar with this. Y'all should be, because y'all movie buffs just like me. I love Hollywood.
I know you do. It speaks to you.
But there was a movie many years ago entitled Cocoon.
Yeah, I remember that.
and it was about these elder
Older
was
people.
in a nursing home or something,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a senior citizens home, and
Mm.
they went to the pool and they discovered these beings
Mm-hmm.
that actually were like them, but when they pull off their their cover
Mm-hmm.
on their
Mm-hmm.
bodies, they
Mm-hmm.
were light beings.
Light beings,
And
yeah.
when they would touch these light beings, they were or being around these light beings, they were being healed and their bodies was being renewed. Their
Yeah,
strength was
yeah.
being renewed. And so it was the life essence that was coming from these people. And so when she said that, in all actuality, that is true. If we could be aware and conscious of that, that
Mm-hmm.
the our true self, it is that life's light, not just light, but that life source. That
Mhm.
when we truly learn how to operate from that,
Mm-hmm.
we will see miracles and signs and great
Yes.
exploits and so forth. And so
Yes.
there are times where
Yes.
we cut, like Bishop say, we flip the switch
Yes.
sometime. But wouldn't
Yes.
it be amazing thing we could constantly keep that switch on?
Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I do believe one of the reasons we don't experience the switch staying on is because our egotistical mindset, it wants to be the healer.
Mhm.
And so because of that, there are a lot of healings, deliverances, uh, changes, transformations that are taking place in people that we interact with that we don't know about because our ego can't get in on it. So some
Exactly.
of it is incognito.
Mhm.
And I remember years ago, I remember preaching a sermon, and I don't remember all I said, but I remember that Jesus is incognito in and through and by us.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
going. I'm going to show you all something that I learned when we were in the brick and mortar. Some of you who have been around us may have heard me talk about it, but I didn't stay on that subject too much. I used to read a lot of Watchman Nee
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yes. I love
book,
watching.
Mm-hmm.
and one of the books that he wrote was Releasing the Spirit.
Release of the spirit.
Now, here's what I finally learned how to do. One day I decided put my hands or pray for somebody and not touch them, but I learned how to use the muscles of my solar plex.
And you're not talking about physically, but
Well,
yes, some
yeah, I use
physical,
it, and
but
I would do like this, and I would take in the breath. See, this is what I learned in weightlifting when I was going to get ready to do a lift on the stage.
mhm.
I
And
learned
it's
how
called the
to
chi.
the
The
chi.
chi.
Yeah, I use that,
Mm-hmm.
and but the only thing about it is this: you must be willing to spin yourself.
That.
Now, that is what happens when you hear somebody say, after they pray for somebody, they feel weak. What they're trying to describe is after releasing this electrical charges from you, it is just like a battery. And see,
Mhm.
the key to this is learning as soon as you push this out, you have to immediately know how to be refilled
Rejuvenate,
from
yes.
that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna show it to you now, and it's real. But you got to practice this. And everybody that was in the classes, I don't know whether they did or not, but I would take my hand and immediately when I start talking about it, I can feel it right in here. The solar picture. I immediately take myself like this, and I build up all the muscle, everything.
Mhm.
And if I didn't feel or sense the release completely, I do it
Until
until
you
I
did.
know that I have stopped being me
Mm-hmm.
to be them.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And this is what I've understood. And this doesn't mean everyone who does healing does it the same way.
That's right.
And even there's a scripture, I think, when it talks about the gifts of the Spirit in the Bible, it says there are gifts of healing, and then there is working of miracles.
Workers of
So
mercy.
there's some
Okay, yes,
some who do light work, who do healing, and it's a more of a softer approach.
Mm-hmm.
When it's a miracle being worked, you actually animate in order to make it happen
Mm-hmm.
by intuition
Mm-hmm.
and based on what he just said. So it's different operations,
Some
but the end result is the same.
in some cases, I would do this. I would use a ball of light in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I use the vision. See, if you learn how to see it
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
with the imagination,
Mm-hmm.
and then I take it and I would.
Yes. Now, my approach was totally different in that when I ministered to a person,
She remembered that move.
yeah, the
Movie.
movie,
Yeah, remember that movie.
Yeah.
Cocoon. But
Yeah.
my approach was totally different in that when I ministered to one who needed a manifested healing or whatever, I would go into myself and become them.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And in becoming them, there were not two standing there.
Mm-hmm.
And because there were not two standing there, the oneness would heal.
Exactly.
Yes. And so, or at least begin the process of healing. And so there are so many different operations. And it's because of our temperaments, it's because of our conditionings, it's because of all of those kinds of different things that when it has to come through a portal or vessel, it's always coming through based on how that vessel is constructed.
Okay. Here is.
See me? Can y'all still see me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just had an interruption for some reason on my screen. Go ahead.
Remember it's Twilight Day. Yeah, it's Twilight.
Something I can say. Yeah. A 3.8 V6 Jeep engine was made and created in a lower class stage of SUVs and small cars. The Jeep company made that and did not intend for that motor to be used as a heavy object for work.
Mm-hmm.
But we now are discovering that the 3.8 Jeep engine
Go ahead.
Jeep engine can be modified to a certain degree, but in order to make it a V6 run like a V8 let me try to get these words here. 3.8, 3.9.
We don't care what the numbers are.
Yeah,
anyway.
but this I'm making a point.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I began to investigate into is how can you take a low rated power 3.8 V6 engine and make it run like a 3.6, like a 327 or a 405, a heavy big engine. And in order to do that, you got to do some investigating into the actual internal workings of that engine, to where you'll know how much to put in the torque of the wheels and how that transmission would take. I'm saying this because there are some cases that you run into that you are not fully loaded with the energy to change anything in that person's life. Now,
Right.
once you find out,
Right.
excuse me,
Right.
once you understand the function of that V6 3.8, you can go inside and put larger pistons in it. It'll burn more gas. But it wasn't designed for that. But I'm finding out how I can add what they call put on or add on parts to that engine that can bring it up to a level of 300, 400, 500 horsepower. But I've heard of guys taking Honda motors and put them on riding lawnmowers and make that thing stand up in its own back end like a wild horse. But you got to understand the torque and the power. In this thing of the spirit is basically the same way. You must understand the anatomy of the energy system inside of us as to where it makes us all become physicians.
Exactly.
Provision. I'm trying to say
Physician.
doctors and healers at the same time. I'm trying to say all this stuff. It's kind of
Our
hard.
lack of sleep is catching up with us.
But
Yeah.
now, when I look at this, I go into the train yard and I look at the engines, the diesels. They talk about 8,000 horsepower. They got batteries in the back of those things that they never use.
Is there a difference in power versus force?
Yes, it is different. A policeman don't have the power to stop a car, but his authority and force can make it stop. But he has to understand where his position is in that street.
So some of us,
And
in our endeavor to have the power to heal or do things for people or manifest, we have looked for actual power or energy, but in some cases it's not even that. It's the position that we take or stand in that does it.
That's basically the understanding between dunamis and exousia. Dunamis is simply defined as having the abundance of ability to perform miracles or mighty acts. I like to say explosive power. All right. Exousia simply indicates the right that you have to use that or enforce that power.
And you're standing in that right. It comes from you're being the authenticity at that moment. You're being your authentic true self at that moment. You're not being a personality.
Exactly. Exactly. Something Dad said earlier. I wanted to look. First of all, can you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
that's one of the first books you gave me, Dad.
Spiritual Man by Watchman Nee.
Yes. Spiritual Man. And my journey.
Yeah, we kind of cut our teeth on that.
Yeah,
it is kind of old. You see how old it is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That was only one of the reasons we cut our teeth on that. But one of the reasons we progressed past it is when he began to talk about the fact that some of it is soulish power versus spirit power.
Exactly.
And we began to realize that there is no segregation in that, that it is really all spirit. And so and that every spirit that is not contaminated if they're fully awake. It's not contaminated. So there is not this I don't want to do anything in self. That's what most of our church people often say in the evangelical circles. I don't want to do anything in self. Well, self just simply means I don't want to do it as a personality.
Exactly.
I don't want to do it as an ego.
That's good.
I don't want to do it as a separate self that's trying to get the credit. That's all it means.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
And
go ahead.
Dad, going back to what you was talking about back when you was lifting or powerlifting, and Mom said it. You was using the chi. Well, again, I studied the martial arts, and so the same art. It's an art to it. The same art that you use to lift the weight, and of course I lift as well. It's the same art we use in karate, kung fu, the martial arts, and you'll see that if you watch some of the martial arts movies, it has to do with their breathing. And if we understand the breathing, which is the life source, God Himself in us, the Ruach, we learn how to generate and to use that life force to do great exploits. This is how they're able to break boards and bricks and do these great feats. I mean, Bruce Lee was one of those that mastered that. And he wasn't quote unquote a Christian. He understood the chi, the life force within him. And we learned that through breathing. Well, Dad, you used to teach us that back when we used to come to the church on Saturdays, and we were praying in the Spirit for 3 hours. That is what praying in the Spirit is all about, us connecting and understanding how to utilize the life force that is in us to create these great exploits or these unexplainable events that we call miracles.
Yes, and remember in those sessions, oh, I'll never forget those sessions of praying in the spirit. What we call praying in the spirit, other people call toning, chanting. We used tongues, where a lot of Pentecostals used it for emotionalism. We used it as a prayer language, which it truly speaks of in Corinthians about it being a prayer language. And so it's bypassing the mind. So in those early days of going to those prayer sessions, we would go, and I think we started about 9 at night. I can't remember the time, but we would lock the doors. We would lock the doors, and we all would. It wasn't emotional. No. We did not get up shouting hallelujah, speaking da 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 da. It wasn't that. It wasn't coming in a Honda. It wasn't that. we had to sit on a chair. Some of us laid down, and some of us would go to sleep, and some would hit the bench to wake them up. Boom, boom, boom. Because we were not allowed to sleep. We had to hold ourselves in what you often say, that hypnagogic state, not a hypnotic state, a hypnagogic state between sleep and awake. We had to hold ourselves there and pray for at least 5 hours. We prayed for 5 hours sitting on a bench. That was our training. And so it positioned us, not just positioned us, but it actually wore the ego crazy. I remember 5 minutes felt like 5 years. There was no stimulation. We even dimmed the lights. There was very little light. It was just enough to see how to move around and go to the bathroom. There was no stimulus. There was nothing to keep you entertained. It was our training. And at that moment, those of us who did that, we came into a place of union that a lot of people never experience.
I want to show you how to operate in him is the life and where we have our beingness. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very simple. The next time you go to the refrigerator and you get some water or you pour tea in a glass, hallowed yourself and stop.
That's good.
And say to the water and the glass, thank you.
Thank you.
But you're directing it to the inner, the dweller of the water. All right. Yes. When you're looking for something around the house, here it is. That's your angel. It's okay. Where did I put this? I said, I just dropped a screw on the floor. It went somewhere in the garage. Show me where it is. Practice that.
And then drop being anxious about it. Yes. Drop it.
I'm telling you, I've been in the garage working on something, and all of a sudden it came to me how to do it. Now, here's what we practice.
I wanted to say something. Can you hold that for a minute? Yeah. Hold your thought. I don't want you to lose it because I know it's good. Lately, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been studying and researching about decluttering and living a life with minimalism and getting rid of things that we no longer need, no longer use. And so I've started I started in one room, and I've said all of this to say this. In the declutter journey, I've learned that when you have something that you grab that you're attached to in some kind of emotional, sentimental state with that particular item, you say thank you for this item. You say thank you, and then give it away and let it go.
That is so good, Mom.
You say thank you and let it go. It did what it was supposed to do. So now thank you and let it go. And that's the same thing you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, you just gave me the revelation of people that deal with that, the psychological, or we call them hoarders. And and they just keep getting
Keep
stuff,
piling
getting
on.
stuff, and have this attachment, and then they wonder why they're feeling drained, because you're
And
giving your energy to something that has already fulfilled its purpose. And so, like you said, it's time to say thank you
thank you and
for
let
the
it go.
time and the purpose that it fulfilled for that time, but now
Yes,
I have to let it
yes.
go.
And now let's just say, for instance, when we had our second dog that we had to put down because he had a nose cancer, I was so distraught over that loss that I had a hard time. For a year, I would cry every time I saw a commercial that had a dog that looked like him. I would cry. And so baby went to, was it Build-A-Bear or somewhere you went, and dug down into the bottom of that barrel and found a little bear that resembled the dog.
Yep.
Wow.
Brought it home, and I named it Poodle Bear.
Poodle Bear.
And I bought clothes for it
shoes
and everything. It's
He
got
much taller
shoes,
than
it's
that.
got
He little short
overalls,
thing.
it's
Look
got
like an Ewok
t-shirts.
almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got t-shirts, it's got a little
Shoes,
nightgown, it's
everything.
got a hat, it's got a leather jacket, it's
Yep.
got a scarf.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got clothes. I got clothes.
We went out to
And
the mall and bought
So
this stuff for
since
that
I
bear.
started my decluttering journey, I looked at Poodle Bear and I said, I can't give up Poodle Bear. I can't give
And
up
he's
Poodle
still
Bear.
upstairs.
Poodle Bear healed me. I would talk to that
Yeah.
stuffed bear and feel the feelings that I had for my dog. I had
She took him to church and did a
and I would
sermon and message.
play with
off
him
of
like
that
it was a
dog.
puppet.
Yeah.
That he had a voice and everything. He said,
She
"Hello,
said,
I'm Poodle Bear."
Hello,
So
how you doing?
I went the whole distance with it.
I said, Poodle Bear, you doing it? He said, yeah, I'm doing fine.
Everybody would laugh. The kids loved it. And
They really
my
did.
nephew, he was little at the time. I won't tell this. He said it was getting late that night, and I had been playing with him with Poodle Bear, and he said, Poodle Bear said, "It's time to go to bed." And Darius looked at him and said, "Well, you're just a bear. You don't know."
Oh, he would talk to.
And so anyway, the attachment to that particular item
James, you remember that bear?
was very important to me. And so when I looked at it in my decluttering journey, because I determined that this year I'm going to declutter. And this year I am having a low buy year. So I'm not spending extra money on anything that I don't have to have. And so anyway, when I looked at Poodle Bear, I said, how am I going to give up Poodle Bear?
Mm-hmm.
But there was a way that some of the declutterers have talked about where you actually say thank you, and then you take a picture of it or a video of it, and you still have because the memory is in you. It's not in the item. So I'm learning that these attachments, you have to be thankful for what you have and how it served you.
Let me tell y'all a story. I'm going to give one of these stories. I was raised around a lady.
James said he remembers Poodle Bear.
Yeah, he did. He said that. Yeah. I was raised around a lady that had never been to school and could not read. She has done nothing but do like slavery, cooking, housework.
Day work.
And her positioned her with the president of banks. She would come home at 7 or come home at 12 and then go back to work to do service for the bankers and the lawyers. And she just was immaculate, brilliant at the stove.
At housekeeping. And cooking, yes.
She knew how to clean, fix a bed. She was the first one I ever seen take a collar off of a white shirt
when it was frayed,
and turn the collar.
Yeah.
Your mom may know something about that.
She did.
And I saw her as a little boy. I sat at the table and watched her make egg custard pies, potato pies, potato salad.
No, don't talk about
and
it. I'm hungry.
She did all of this on a wood stove. She was
right now. I can eat the back end out of a rag doll because I had absolutely nothing today.
Brother Norman, this woman was absolutely immaculate with food. didn't have to tell her anything. She just
She
knew
cooked intuitively.
intuitively.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. She went through hell with my uncle because of the anger. But my point is this. There's a man, again, that I just been thinking about. I practically gave him $3,000 for a system to put on my Jeep. It's a super thing that you put on to make it increase. I ordered this thing and he sent it to me, but he didn't tell me the full impact of what it would take to make the thing work on my Jeep. So I filed a claim against him. I said, he sold this thing for $3,000, which is worth $5,000. I'm going to have to spend another $2,000 to make it work. It's a supercharger that go on the Jeep. So now we in the claims division, and it'll be 90 days. They're determining whether I should pay for this or he should pay for it. And I'm almost, y'all talking today to a point. I remember sitting in my living room where a lady came by one time and said, the Lord told me to give you $5,000. She did with her husband. She got up and went out the door and called back and said, the Lord told me to come back and give you $5,000 more.
Wow.
I had that to happen for real. So I'm saying this to say to you, in the grace of God, I don't know how I'm going to handle this case. I may give it to him. I may drop the case against him. The man is actually very rude in his conversation over sending notes and emails back to me. Like, can't you read? Can't you see? And all that kind of stuff. And PayPal is got it in layers of deciding whether to give me the money or I have to pay for it out of my pocket. I'm at the point now where I'm almost wanting to give it to him, but I don't know quite yet which way I'm going to go with it. So the claim is with eBay and PayPal credit, $3,000 that is out there now that I'm waiting on the return. Now, the guy's mean. He's rough. I done talked to him on the phone, not on the phone, but on the computer. And I'm back to the point I'm asking the Lord in myself, and he's in there. What way should I go with this? My wife said, leave it alone and let it work itself out. I may just have to do that. And I'll be honest with you, I have done that.
Mm-hmm.
I have had some of the most amazing experiences with men and people that were CEOs over business, doctors, principals, school, the grace of God walking up to me and laying thousands of dollars in my hand. If I had $3,000 now, I would pay that thing off completely. I wouldn't have no trouble with it. But at the same time, I am concerned about it in the sense that I have to learn something about buying stuff off of eBay, because you might order something that's not new and end up finding out you had to spend more money to get it working than what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I have run across some of the most amazing people. My uncle showed me how.
Now, you know we're over time.
Yeah, my uncle showed me how to take a rusty nail, crooked rusty nail, a 16-penny nail, rusty, lick it, put it on a piece of wood, and hit it with one strike, and drive that joke all the way through the other side.
You had to lick it?
Yeah, because you spit.
I could never have done that.
I'm just trying to figure out what was the purpose of licking it.
That sort of slide on through.
I think that was just...
Y'all ain't funny. I can tell you that.
Bye,
baby.
She said, her riding here, she's got to go.
You ain't. Y'all ain't funny. You ain't funny. I'm telling you that.
We're getting ready to go too, Linda.
Mom, I think by licking it, they was applying that effective force.
You going about your business, boy. You going about your business. Don't you say nothing.
So the moral of this story is
That was
All
the
right.
virtue. That virtue.
We used to
we really gotta go.
take meat grease
No, we really gotta go.
and put it on a saw on that nail and drive it right straight through it with one strike.
Yes, I hear you. I hear you. But I never would have licked it. I never would have. Never would have licked it. It
But
wouldn't have happened.
Dad, can I say something to all that you was talking
No,
Yes, you can.
no,
This is not
it's
funny.
over.
The whole time you kept
I'm
saying,
finished.
I'm sharing the situation that you're dealing with. All I kept hearing over and over and over again, enter into rest.
That's
That's
what she
it.
said.
I kept hearing that over and over again, enter into rest. It's going to definitely work itself out, and
Yeah.
it's going to work out in your favor.
That's
Thank you.
right. That's right.
Thank the Lord.
And I told him just be willing to just let it go.
Thank you.
And it's kind of like with what we're dealing with baby girl. We've been at the vet 2 or 3 times in the last 3 days. 2 times at least in the last 3 days.
Bless your heart.
But we had to meet these people. And we realized that baby girl has been the instrument. So she's going to be fine.
You know,
It's just that we have to cross the paths of these people.
I want to get with everybody on this site. I want to get you into one place and to hug you to the juice of God come out of you.
Yeah.
This thing that I feel inside is working, Pastor.
Miss Eleanor, we love you too,
It
sweetheart.
ain't nothing like it. That woman that raised me. She could cook like your mom and never went to school, never had any
It's a
training.
gift. It's a gift.
She could do that.
It's a gift. It's a
No
definite
book, no read. She couldn't read, couldn't write her name.
The Bible don't talk about it being a gift, but it's a gift.
Yes, it
It's
is.
definitely. Look, guys, we have
We
been
got to
here.
go.
We're over
We
time,
got
but
to go.
it's been such a great time talking to you today. I'm so glad, Pastor Norman, you were able to get on finally.
Yeah.
And I hope things get straightened out with your electronics. I believe that it will. And we just thank all of you guys for tuning in to us. I didn't acknowledge Lady Gwen. She was on there. I didn't acknowledge her. I just want you to know that we will be back again.
Dale seen it.
Yes, Dale. We see you, sweetheart. Thank you. We'll be back again on Sunday at 10.
10
and
o'clock.
Pastor Norman
And
will
we'll
be back
talk
on
about it. We'll
Bold
talk about
at
these
11.
mysteries some more, okay?
Yes,
Yes,
11.
love you too, Vincent and Diana. And so we will be back on Sunday, and we'll try to, if nothing else happens, we will be back again on next Thursday.
When I was a
with
little
Impromptu.
boy, I used to operate with my uncle on a two-man chainsaw. It's called a McCullough chainsaw. You cut big timber down. I'd be on this end of the blade working this way. He'd be on the motor section up there. I've had some of the most amazing adventures with woods and with people.
Yes, you have. By the way, baby girl was okay. It was a false alarm. She just wanted to go out and play because she knows it's over an hour.
Yeah. She knows
her clock is still working.
I bless you. I bless all of you. I do with the blessings of God.
Baby girl.
Thank you so much for allowing us to come into your home. And thank you so much for being with us again on this turnaround of heaven on earth.
Yeah.
You have been a miracle of God, and I pray that every one of you, that everything you touch will be blessed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
See you next time.
We'll see you guys.
Bye-bye.